By DraftKings. Have you heard DraftKings has launched a first of its kind digital trading card fantasy game, Draftkings Rainmaker? Yep, that's right. DraftKings, a leader in daily fantasy, is bringing their digital gaming expertise to the world of crypto. DraftKings has recently launched Draftkings Rainmakers, allowing customers to buy and sell exclusive player card NFTs. You can collect your favorite athletes' digital player cards and then use those cards to create a daily NFT fantasy lineup. Then your lineup racks up points just like any other daily fantasy contest. And if you land near the top of the leaderboard, you could win cold hard cash. Head to DraftKings now, sign up using the code SPORTSCARD, and navigate their marketplace where you can join a queue to purchase a pack of player cards. Each pack has different player cards. Enter your players into a Rainmakers lineup and watch the action unfold as your team scores. Go ahead, check out the description below, and without further ado, we're going to hop right into the video. This video, I'm going to be breaking down what I believe to be 5 of the best investments that you could make in the month of September 2022. So the first investment that I believe is a very good investment is Zion Williamson's courtside select rookie card in a PSA 10 or PSA 9 or ungraded, whatever fits your budget. But a lot of people have been very concerned about the high populations that a lot of Zion cards seem to have. And for good reason, considering that there are almost 20,000 Zion Prism PSA 10 rookie cards. However, there are definitely some very great options for Zion that I believe are very undervalued right now. And of course, one of them being his courtside select. This has a slightly higher pop than Luka Doncic's courtside select, but the price is significantly lower. It's less than 30% the price of Luka. I know, of course, they are not comparable players. It is just a simple baseline that we can kind of go off of to get some value for Zion. Now, Zion is returning this year, looks to be very healthy. A lot of reports showing that he's in the best shape of his life. But regardless of how Zion turns out to play, I definitely believe that the hype for Zion is going to be very real coming into this season. And that's where I believe could be a very good short-term flip, because I personally believe Zion's going to be one of the hottest players going into the year, and he's already the third best-selling basketball player right now in the sports card market. So we're already starting to see the shift happen. A lot of people are getting very excited to see Zion back on the floor again. There's a lot of hype around his name, as there always is. And I just think he's going to be one of the hottest players going into next year. So if you're buying now, I believe before the season starts, there's going to be a lot less supply on Zion cards, given that people are going to be holding off, and people are going to be buying into Zion's market. I believe his select courtside is the best investment you can go after, given the very low population of less than 300 cards in a PSA 10, and given that courtside selects have been the go-to investments for a lot of young stars in the recent months. If we look at courtside selects for Luka Doncic, for example, and a lot of other players, they're holding up a lot better than Prism bases. And I think that's very expected given the exclusivity, and just the overall select look is getting a lot of attention. So I definitely believe picking up these Zions for around 300 to 400, you're holding some great upside. And if you do have the budget to go for his select courtside silver, I definitely believe that's a good investment. If you look at Luka's right now, it just sold for $8,800. And of course, Zion's is much lower and has a lot of upside, given he hasn't really played in a long time. So his prices, the overall demand for his cards hasn't really been there. So I definitely believe it's a good time to be buying into Zion's courtside select silvers. But without further ado, we will hop right into our next pick, and that is going to be none other than Darius Garland. I definitely believe Darius Garland's market is picking up already, and I definitely think it's got a long ways to go. So one investment that I really love of his is his Prism Red. It is out of $299. It is a little bit obviously more pricey than his other options. But overall, I believe Darius Garland to be a very good investment right now. There's a lot of growing hype right now that's around the Cleveland Cavaliers and their young squad that they've put together. Of course, last year they had a very great first half of the year, and Garland showed a lot of potential. And investors already kind of started to crave out a market for his cards. I personally believe his cards are going to go to the next level now that Donovan Mitchell is on the Cavs, and the Cavs are posing as more of a real threat in the Eastern Conference. If we look at, obviously, the Celtics and Bucks, they're probably definitely at the top of the East, but I think the Cavs are not too far below in terms of potential to make something happen. I know that there's obviously a lot of injuries that happen every year, and I think the Cavs are kind of a sleeper team that a lot of investors are going to look at in the Eastern Conference this year. Now, Darius Garland's red rookie is obviously team colors. And not only that, but it's out of $299. So the pop is going to be extremely low on PSA 9s and PSA 10s. So if you are able to snag one of them for around last comp, even if you're paying up 10%, I think you're definitely going to do very well this year. Given Garland was an all-star last year, they've just added another all-star on their team. They now have 3 all-stars with Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, and Darius Garland. So a 3 all-star team, of course, led by Garland and Mitchell, I think is going to be great for Garland's prices and make him more collectible in the long term. So I definitely believe it's a good time to be buying those up. Now, without further ado, we will hop right into our next pick, and that is going to be Nikolai Jokic. Now, I'm going to use this Prism Silver just for an example, but if that's out of your price range, I recommend the Prism Base as well, given the populations on 2015 Prism are significantly lower than any recent Prism release. And that's what I really love about going after Jokic's cards, is that the pops are so low that when demand comes to his cards, prices shoot up real fast. So for Nikola Jokic, one reason I really love him as an investment is, of course, being a 2-time MVP at 26 years old. But not only that, I just believe the Nuggets are in a great position with their young core 3. And they're getting Michael Porter Jr. back this year. They're getting Jamal Murray back. So they've got their young core back together this year. And I think that's going to cause the Nuggets to become a real threat in the Western Conference. A lot of people have kind of written them off since last season when it was Jokic being that solo man trying to win, trying to beat the Warriors, which was practically impossible. But now that he's getting back 2 borderline all-stars, I think, the Nuggets' chances in general are going to be very elevated this year. And that provides great opportunity for Jokic's low pop cards. I realize Jokic's card market is hurting significantly right now, so I think it's a good time to take advantage, make a little bit of a speculative play on a 2-time MVP who's still very young and who has great opportunity in front of him. Now, this card has the potential, in my personal opinion, this PSA 9 Silver Prism has a potential to be a $2,000 card, as we've seen it plenty of times before. It's just a matter of attention being around him and the Nuggets getting some wins. So I definitely think it's a good time to be buying into Jokic's card market. Now, without further ado, we are going to hop right into our next pick, and I'm going to put in Paul George rookie cards in general. I definitely believe if you can go after his national treasures, it's a little bit, of course, more risky, but you're going to have a much higher upside because he does not have that many options. It's pretty much his 2010 Donruss or his national treasures that I believe to be his best investments. Now, Paul George is another player who's been absolutely kind of out of the investment field for quite a long time, given the Clippers were kind of irrelevant last year. But if you're looking at rankings right now and what analysts are saying, the Clippers definitely have a good shot of getting a lot of attention heading into the next season. I think there's a lot of hype around what could have been type thing with Kawhi and Paul George. And of course, they've added John Wall. They've still got Reggie Jackson. So they've got a very balanced, stacked team. Now, it's just about executing. But I definitely think at the current prices Paul George's cards are at, it's a very low risk, high reward investment for an all-star, caliber player who has a chance to win the Western Conference next year. If you're going after his Donruss PSA 9 for $30, I don't see it going much lower than $30. I could see it going as high as a couple $100. And that is just given the basic supply and demand tactics of right now, there's not much attention on Paul George's card market. A lot of people are selling off his cards, and not many people are buying into his cards. In a few months, if the Clippers start off hot, we could see a lot of people buying into his cards, not as many people selling off. So that's just a basic supply and demand tactic where I think if the market is turned away from him, if attention is away from Paul George, when attention's back on Paul George, his prices should go up naturally. So I think it's a good low-risk, high-reward investment. I'm not saying to hold all the way into the playoffs to see if they win the championship. I'm just saying it's a good time to be buying in and see how it plays out, and you can always sell off before the season when prices are up and is a lot more attention's on his cards. So I definitely think Paul George is a very good investment right now. Without further ado, we're actually going to give you guys 2 more picks. So we got Kawhi Leonard. I know I've talked about him so much. All attention has been away from the Clippers. Kawhi's market has a lot of room for growth, given when he's healthy, he could be a top 5 player in the league. And if a top 5 player in the league has a rookie card with such a low population compared to recent years, you're going to see a lot of upside on his cards. So I think Kawhi is definitely a very good investment. I've gone over this plenty of times on the channel, so I'm not going to go too in-depth about Kawhi, but our next player that I'm really buying up, and we are also mentioned this on the channel quite a lot of times, is going to be Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, of course, is coming back from an injury. Not much attention on his cards at all. Of course, the Nuggets have the MVP on their team. They're getting Michael Porter Jr. back. Going to be a lot of attention around them. Jamal Murray is a bright young superstar, or star, I'll call him. I'm not going to go that far right now, but I definitely think there's a lot of room for upside on Jamal Murray's cards. And his cards are ultra low population. 2016 Prism was, the pop numbers are very low comparatively to newer years. So I definitely think it's a low risk, high reward investment in Jamal Murray's card market. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.